never seen that in one location.
I didn't see that, but we did see some electric car.
Strategically placed in there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I have Yahoo Mail, which may munge everything anyway.
Okay. Carl, how about you? Did you just click or did you copy
Just click.
paste?
Just
Click
click.
and it worked.
Let me
Okay.
Yeah, it just came right up to me.
Okay, and Dennis, same thing? We don't hear from Dennis. Dennis is not talking to us.
He's muted.
I had to do a copy link.
Okay. We got Bert coming in. We got Elvin here.
I would have been able to get in by using a right-click option in Chrome.
Okay.
Well, at least there's a meeting to come to.
Right. We have a meeting tonight.
Thanks to everyone who made that happen, by the way.
Yeah.
I should say everyone who is making this happen.
What happened?
Oh, nice couch.
Oh, yeah. He's on the couch.
I think that's where Tony should be sitting.
Or lounging leisurely. By the way, I do have a meeting leader for another meeting who does sit on the couch with his wife.
Ah, good man. Why not?
That's because they share a couple of laptops and they have to show each other how to make the meeting software work. You got to remember, this is a group that meets via Linux and via one of the Linux apps.
Notepad?
No. I tend to take notes and then they get buried.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Pete here.
Yeah, that means we can start the meeting, right?
We can start the meeting now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got part.
Hey,
Can
Pete,
I-
we've got some people that used to come to our meeting and they're not coming to this one anymore. Do you have any insight? What's going on? Like, where's Wayne?
No,
None.
none.
Wayne is in Wayne's world.
No doubt.
Sorry about that.
And we're not talking about the Wayne that's here, Wayne Pritzel.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Al. We've got Elsa. We've got a quorum now.
Now that's it. We got a quorum. I'll wait for Al to finish getting himself set up.
I'm all set.
I am together.
I'm all set.
Somebody's saying I'm all set.
Oh,
Oh,
Good evening, everybody.
different Al.
yeah. 2 hours.
Okay, I might as well start the meeting tonight. So Tim, I'm
So,
letting you know the keywords. Well, welcome everybody to the, what is this, October edition of the Tips and Tricks SIG. We're typical, we'll have our open forum. Then when we run out of questions and we run out of things to talk about, we'll go into our subject matter. We'll go through all the things that I listed out and, that I sent in the email. From there, we'll finish up and enjoy our evening, and maybe who knows what will come out of this. Anyways,
can I have
I'd
a
like
few
to say
minutes?
welcome everybody. Who'd like to open up the floor with the first question of the evening?
Sanford, can I have a few minutes?
Absolutely, you've got the floor.
I'm going to try. First of all, I got to apologize for Tuesday, where Tuesday was blown away for me. A lot of you don't know, I had hospice in. My son was here and they were here for 2 hours. And then my son said, oh, I need a new recliner. So they went out and looked at some. And when they came back, they ordered one. And then he said, I cannot climb the stairs. So that's one reason we got the recliner. So I can't go upstairs to my PC. And that was a big part of Tuesday. Then my son brought down buku equipment, got some of it set up, not all of it. And I'm kind of up and running now, but not completely. But it has been a hectic week. Thursday we had hospice here again, and I signed up for hospice. And I had my grandson here, and he brought down my printer and I tried doing some things on the web, and with just the 4G, it took forever and a day. So we ran a Ethernet cable from up in my bedroom down to the dining room, and it's been working out real well. But I must apologize. Time just got away from me, and I don't know if I could have got everything up for the simple reason, the PC was in limbo. But so I just want to explain. Thursday's meeting is on for West Side.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for all your efforts.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Our meeting here. Who'd like to open it? First thing, Jerry, do you need help with anything?
I'll take whatever help I can get on the website and also Zoom.
That being
So-
said, Jerry needs help with somebody taking over the responsibilities of the website. Is there anyone in this group that would like to put their hand up and say, absolutely, Jerry, I'm here to help you. Tell me what you want and I'll be there.
I'll work with them all the way through.
Well, I'm at the moment the default because I don't know how many people we're going to get to volunteer. I hope there's others, even one. But at the moment, I'm the fall guy. I'm also fall guy backing you and Sanford up for Zoom.
Right. I gave Tim the information Jerry gave me on how to set up the Zoom meetings. And
The Zoom meetings are very simple. to
they're
set
very
up.
simple. But
I figured that.
does anyone in this group want to put their hand up and say, Jerry, I'll take over the website? And there's no hands. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to have to ask at West Side, and I'll have to ask again later. If not, I'm going to do some finger pointing and start assigning jobs to somebody like I do my kids. You're going to do this, and you're. They hate it when they get older, and I tell them what to do too. Okay.
Thank you, Sanford.
Anyone else want to help Jerry? Jerry, what else do you need help with?
Those are the two things.
Okay. All right. Jerry, we will get you a solution. Whether it's me or Tim or somebody else that's going to take over the reins of what you need to have done to offload this work from you. And I can always come by if you need me. I can come by your house and we could sit 20 feet apart, whichever, and do what needs to be done to get this going. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. With that being said, let's open the floor up to the first question of the evening. Anyone got any issues, computer problems? Nothing. Look at Aldo's got all those screens in front of him and he has not one single problem. Aldo, how do you monitor all those computer screens at once?
Got a lot of friends.
Tony, go ahead, Tony.
I have a question. I couldn't
Yes.
tell what it is. I have a problem. In my anxiety to have a techno house, I bought a Nest thermostat.
Yes.
It was working fine, controlled by my friendly Apple iPhone, et cetera, and my iPad and everything's working fine. And just a few weeks ago, I got this notice from Google saying we took over Nest. So you have to sign up for a Google account and you got to do everything Google. And I said, no, not me. I don't like that stuff. So I say, I'm going to, well,
You
I
don't
bought
have
this
to, Tony.
Huh?
You don't have to. They want you to.
Mm-hmm.
But just as I cut you off what you were saying. Go ahead.
So I was trying everything I can know how just to avoid Google and still control my Nest thermostat. And I did some research. I looked around and I said, well, you got to buy an Ectobi or whatever it is, which is the one that's handled by, other vendors. And I said, I didn't want to get rid of my $100 and something. So I'm stuck now to know where to go to get this control of my thermostat without going to Google.
Well, offhand, Alphabet, the parent company of Google, also bought out Nest a long time ago, but they kept it totally independent. Now they're integrating it.
Right. However, I have a Nest thermostat.
Yes.
And I have never changed my anything for login, for controlling it, other than what I initially had set it up to be. And I have purchased many different phones over the course of the time, or several phones, and just loaded the application on, gave it what it needed to do, passwords and whatever, and connected to the unit. And I've never set up Google in relationship to it, and I've had zero issues. So basically, I've ignored what Google wants me to do and continued using the Nest product as I originally bought it.
Well, how long ago did you buy your product, Sanford?
Oh, probably 10 years ago.
Okay. Tony, how long ago did you?
Mine is at least 4 or 5 years old.
Okay. It could be that, Sanford, you have an older model that they're not going to bother with, whereas Tony's got a newer one that may be in their realm of reference.
Could very well be.
So he's an old fart and I'm a new kid. All right. So I didn't mean that. I was just talking to myself.
So are you saying that you're getting bugged by them, or are you getting prevented?
They're saying that they have Nest is now requires Google. Google has bought out Nest, just something like to that effect. So I have to register with Google in order to manage my system. You know?
Okay, but are your apps still working with it?
KNOW, no.
No. Oh.
I have to virtually manually do the thing. In fact, just before the meeting, I was doing some research there and I said, but I have to go do it later to see if it really works. I saw something up there talking about, people having problem with the same situation. Okay. In fact, though, somebody said you can take your thermostat back and they will give you a new one, maybe a newer one for whatever reason. But I was just doing some research prior to this meeting and I'm halfway through it now. And it says that if you use, I think it's Starlink and adapt it to your router, you can use the Apple's HomeKit to manipulate it. So I'm going to try that after.
Okay. I have no knowledge about this. Anyone else that uses Nest have any info?
I'm going to speculate that they upgraded the firmware on Tony's unit, and that's what's saying that he's got to have it.
Okay, that could very well be, and mine could be stuck back into whatever.
Dark ages, sir. Wow.
Well, most companies making hardware only support it technically 5 years, even though they may have parts a little past 5 years. So generally speaking, about every 5 years, whatever the device is, they're expecting you to get a newer one.
I would say, Tim, that is a correct line of thinking, but I guess I'm old school. When it comes to things that you install in your house, you install it, it's part of the house. You don't go out and buy a new one just because technology changed. You
I
don't
agree.
buy a new furnace because they came out with a new model.
Well,
you
but I think it's a case here where everything is changing, and that they're trying to entice people all the time into new pieces of equipment, not just Nest, all of them do it. And the younger generation is a little different than you're thinking, or anybody that's at this meeting. When something doesn't work right, something doesn't work at all, they're not in the mood to try and repair it themselves or take it to somebody to repair it. They just go out, buy a new one, and throw out the old one.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
Now, there is a downside to keeping older tech around, which does not have firmware updates. And that's what the people with the WD My Book Live found out. They
Right.
got all
It
their
has to
data
do with
wiped.
it, like security and other things that could come into play. And it could very well be the case that somebody could come by and hack my thermostat because it doesn't have the latest. But
Well, you got to remember, it's an IoT device.
right.
IoT devices, the manufacturers totally ignore security completely. They don't give a damn about the security.
Mhm.
Now, it could be that Google and Alphabet have said Google's got to take over at least some of the Nest thermostats, and things get filtered through it like a Chromebook, and therefore they are doing the security for Chromebook. They make the Android, and etc. And the EU is now going to try and force all manufacturers to support from 5 years to 7 years of updating. And the question becomes, since Google made the Android phone system, operating system, they normally sell it to the hardware manufacturer. And most of the hardware manufacturers only support it for 2 years, and then you get nothing after that. The question becomes, is the EU going to force all the manufacturers, whether they make the OS or they buy it from a third party like Google, to support completely for up to 7 years? That's the question.
With smartphones, even the batteries don't last that long.
Smartphones, you said, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people are used to replacing the phone batteries. So what are you going to do?
If you have a phone you can take apart for that.
Can't
Oh,
do that too. I think even the new Samsung, I don't know, the new Samsungs, can you take those apart? No.
they're all serviceable, but you may have to take it to a iFixit type shop. They
Right.
have the tools and knowledge to take it apart, replace the battery, and put it back together properly.
Boy, you should watch some of those videos on how to replace a battery in your whatever phone you have and get an idea of what that takes. I watched it on what it took to do it on one of my devices, and I'm like, how the hell are they going to do this? I mean, there's a lot of
Well,
technique to doing
yes,
a lot
absolutely.
of technique.
And all the different phones, you have different techniques for each type.
Right.
I happen to have some of the tools, but if I wanted to repair, I know one of my Samsung phones that needs a new battery. I've got some parts I wouldn't normally have. I'd have to buy, and they weren't exactly cheap to
No.
start with, so that you can take it apart properly and then put it back together properly.
It's also like, as you're watching some of those videos, you'll see they'll have a heating plate that they put it on.
Yep,
And the heating plate is to release the glue release.
that's
But that
correct.
has to be set to a certain specific temperature. And then they'll have a heat gun, not like a big old gun that we use to remove floor tiles in our house. No, this one is about the size of your fingertip. And
Right.
that blows the heat right in a small little area so it doesn't bother. I mean, the tech, and that's got to be set to certain temperatures too. Boy, there's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So
Yeah.
back to Tony. Tony,
Yes,
I
sir.
can't tell you whether or not you have to do what you need to do. I hope you don't. But keep us updated.
Okay, will do. And just to bring your breast every time, I see you all a lot of senior citizens out there, seasoned citizens, I should say. But I'm a young pup in this whole thing, a fear of life. And I got a new iPhone 13 last Sunday.
Ooh.
Easy, boy, down. That one only has 2 lenses though, but I'm 5G. And just after the last meeting, well, it's now a month now, I bought a new iPad.
Wow.
iPad Pro.
You're keeping the economy going.
MacBook Pro, huh?
You're keeping the economy going.
So what I like about this thing, I must confess, is the fact that all this stuff going in people, non-compatible compatibilities. The only thing I've discovered over the 10, 15 years now with Apple products is that with the newer models, they don't have the newest iOS operating system, which is whoop-de-doo. It doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles. But this M1 chip here is a bad, shut your mouth, talking about speed. Woo! Bad picture, quality, sound, it's got everything except the ability to vote. But the thing is awesome, man. This is bad, you know. And very much interchangeable. All the networking and everything else. Apple just snaps, bang, bang, bang.
You like the phone better or the iPad better?
So it's 6 or 1.5 dozen. Yeah, the iPhone is to go everywhere. The iPad is to stay home and play with.
Okay.
You know? Not the iPad, sorry, a MacBook Pro is a MacBook Pro, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, MacBook Pro. Okay,
Yes,
big difference there. Okay.
Yes. The iPad is over here in this hand, you know.
Are you zooming on the Pro right now in your MacBook?
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
If it's I never knew you guys were that handsome. It looks
And we never
smooth.
knew you had such a good-looking couch behind you.
That's easy there now. You got to do what you got to do.
And we were saying earlier, boy, I don't know why you're sitting at a desk. You should be sitting on that comfy couch doing this Zooming tonight, you know? But
Yeah. I expected company, so I have to look back through the window for every now and then.
And Tony, I'd like to ask you, how do you like your Nest thermostat?
It was good until a couple of weeks ago when this guy told me this silly stuff. I was going all over the country when I was traveling, going to my daughters in California. It was snap, everything on the road. I can change the temperature at a drop of a hat. You know, stop it, put on the fan, heat the cool, see what the temperature inside the house is. It was very, very, very good.
And I also like how it goes into away mode when it knows you've been gone.
Yes, hold them away. Yes,
and if it's the summertime, it lets the place get a little warm. But before you go home,
snap it up. Yep, beautiful.
Cool down the house. It's nice and cool when you come in, or heat up the house in the winter. Keep it cool when you're not around.
I still look for options. I'm looking. Well, they recommend that you could go buy I think it's called Ecobee. That's the one that's Apple compliant.
Right.
And once you go Apple, you don't go back, Jack. You don't go back. Once you go to the orchard, you don't want to go and pick berries or cherries or pumpkins. You're going to stay there, So that's my experience. Okay.
Got a question.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yes.
If I get a Nest and set it to 65, will my Ohana that I'm living go to 65?
Only if your heat pump can get you down to that level.
What heat pump? This is Hawaii. You don't have any
It's the heat that's pumping in through the window.
Yeah. It's just a toy. Play with it.
Pete, how's that Kilauea doing over there? Is it still spewing?
It's still spewing.
It's still spewing.
It's 150, 200 miles from us.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean anything.
It has to do with Vesuvius or a Krakatoa to affect us.
Okay,
Mm.
gotcha.
La Palma and the Canary Islands are blowing and stop now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's going to become much bigger of a Canary Islands. That's
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, look at all that valuable real estate that are getting.
Okay, next question, new direction. None. Mike, I can't see or hear anything from you. Are you there?
He
We don't
must
know
be
if Mike's-
because he had his first name misspelled, so I sent him a chat that I think he had a misspelling, a typo.
Okay,
He had M-double-I-K-E.
okay. Dennis, I still can't hear or see you. So we don't know what's going on in that end, or you're just lurking in the corner over there. All right, nobody else has any questions?
I got one.
I have a
have one.
question, but I'm sure nobody here is going to be involved. About a week ago, when we were down in St. Louis, I ended up going to a Micro Center store down there.
That's a
Shoes.
long way to go to a Micro
Well,
Center.
we were visiting friends down there.
Okay,
And so my friend took me over to the Micro Center store. He was looking for something. I picked up a Raspberry Pi. And so I've been trying to load one of the
Oh,
browsers on it, but it doesn't want to load Firefox.
did you load
Usually,
an operating system on there already?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
it's got the Raspberry. I used the Raspberry Pi that was on the little micro SD card. It's a 64K or 64 gigabyte micro SD card, and it had the operating system and all on there. And
well, Wayne, you have to remember that chip on there is not Intel. It's not
It's an ARM.
Mac. It's an
ARM.
ARM chip, and
Yeah.
not everything works with an ARM chip. So you have to find a web browser that works on an ARM chip.
well, I could find the thing in the software, but it just, for some reason or other, it doesn't seem to take.
Haven't played with them enough in quite a while. I haven't had the time. I used to play heavily with Raspberry Pis, and I've got the original 1, 2,
Yeah, this is a 4.
3, and 4. The only 4 I don't have that I would like to have is the 8 gig model. I have 2 4 gig module Raspberry Pis.
Yeah,
but
I've got the 4. I've got the 4 gigabyte memory.
I haven't had time to really play around with them. And it's hard to use even a 4, but that's a lot better than the earlier models where you only had 1 or 2 gigs
Yeah.
for desktop operations. At best, it probably runs like a Celeron Intel processor might do on speed. So it would be very, very lightweight.
Well, it's
Wayne,
not very fast, that's for sure. But it works.
Wayne,
Yeah.
if you look in the chat, I sent you a direct chat that has the instructions on installing Firefox ESR.
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay, and the command in there says sudo apt-get install Firefox ESR.
Well, I've done that numerous times, and
Oh,
it just
okay,
doesn't take.
Well, you got to understand a little bit about ESR. They are kind of like a bed of releases that are done, I think, about
Right.
every 3 or 4 years. And they don't, they update it just like an OS, but at the same time too, they're a standard one like we do not normally see on Windows or a Mac if you're running Firefox. Those are live distros that are constantly updated to a new version every time. ESR are not.
Well, it's got the Chrome browser, plus it's got DuckDuckGo for for the search, which I thought was interesting.
Okay, and you could try Vivaldi, Brave browsers as well, and those are based on Chrome. I should say Chromium browser, and you can get Chromium browser itself. It looks very much like a regular Chrome, but it's lighter weight.
Okay, well, I've got a lot of experimenting to do.
And
Yeah,
sounds like, Wayne, this is like a topic for the Linux SIG
Right.
because it's more of a Linux thing.
Oh, it is, yeah.
So you'll have to wait for the next meeting. And, if you can.
I won't
did
make the
see-
next meeting because I'm going to be gone.
I did see there is some YouTube videos on how to do it if you.
Oh, yeah, I've tried all that stuff.
Okay. Well, if it's not working, maybe you need to take the Raspberry Pi back. Maybe you got a defective unit.
I don't know.
Micro Center, although I don't know what the return policy on those items are, but anyways.
My speculation, it's not the hardware, but it can't be ruled out.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with this, Wayne?
I'll just play around with it, learn a little bit more about Linux.
Okay. It's
Since
a good
I've-
little toy. You got.
Yeah.
You,
Well,
you
since
got-
I've upgraded my other laptop to Linux, so.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions? That
Got
was
a
a good one,
new,
Wayne.
got
Yeah.
one.
Yes, Mr. Aldo.
Thanks. I have a friend. He's in the sense he inherited a phone, was given a phone that was belonged to a group plan, family plan. And I got a message, either email or WhatsApp or something else, and it had the previous owner was deceased, right? Said, oh, the spirit's talking to me. And I asked him, why haven't you changed? He says he went to the T-Mobile, they changed the SIMS card, and still the previous owner still shows up. Any ideas?
Did they change? Did he get a new phone number?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right.
Phone numbers get changed quite a bit. Let's say that I've got phone number right now. I stop the service and go to some other service. That number is supposed to be idle for at least 30 days or more, and they don't follow that rule. And so the end result is even one of my phones, periodically, whoever had last, a church that they belonged to kept trying to get a hold of her, and I get the messages. Same is true for others trying to call you. You might think some of it's spam, and it's not spam. They're just trying to contact somebody they haven't talked to in a long time.
Yeah, I keep getting that on my Moto phone, that the number has previously belonged to somebody else. I have a third-tier repackager for my carrier. So they definitely recycle their numbers.
Yes, and the bad part is they have no mechanism available that I'm aware of to say, okay, you have a new owner. So anybody that this person has not contacted should be blocked, so to speak, and give them back some kind of a feedback that that person is no longer available. That's just out of the realm of reality.
Well, it's kind of similar to the fact I rent, and my apartment has previously been lived in. I
Mhm.
still get mail from some people who lived here 5 years ago, 3 years ago, a year ago.
My mother's been dead since 2007, and I'm still getting mail, even requesting her to consider running for elective office.
Let's not go down this road. Okay, okay.
Leave the post
this is-
office out of this. Leave the
This
post
is a
office.
rabbit hole we've all been down and dealt with at different levels. So
God help if you bought a new car.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Last
Okay,
car I
so-
sold, which was before I came here, is I'm still getting calls for the insurance package.
well, we all are getting that one for the extended warranty.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Not just you, Pete. Every one of us in the country are getting these bogus phone calls for the extended warranty thing, that your extended warranty is run out and this is our last and final call to
I
contact.
wish it
you.
was.
And
Yeah,
then an hour later, it's the same thing. And then a week later, it's the exact same message, just a different phone number.
I keep getting
Right.
one on a car that's already been wrecked.
And then they say, if you press 1 or 2 or whatever to remove you from the list, what winds up happening is they actually are re-adding you back into the list because you
Yeah.
responded. So now they know you're,
Now they know you're live bait.
yeah, they know, yeah.
well, not only that, but that's the thing about spam in email or on text messaging. If you respond, they know they got a live wire, somebody to contact in the future. And so you just open yourself up by not ignoring such messages and phone calls.
I did hear of a new phishing technique that was being used to embezzle money out of people, where they're saying you'll get a text message that says, it's from your bank, whichever bank that might be, and did you authorize a withdrawal of $3,500 from your account? And we're just notifying you, and press yes or no if you authorize this. Tim, let me just finish this thing, okay? And if you happen to say no, what will happen is then somebody's going to call you right afterwards to say, well, the money has been withdrawn, but with these steps we'll do right now, we'll get the money back for you. And the end result is that by going through these steps that they do, you've now given them somehow access to your account, and they'll go ahead and withdraw the $3,500 while you're talking to them. They weren't doing it before, but they'll do it now. And this has happened. It's been proven and recorded, and complaints have been made about this technique that's been done. But it's crazy. I'm just saying, you gotta really be diligent. You get these unexpected text messages, don't respond to them at all. Just completely
right.
ignore them. You get something from Amazon, whether or not it's true or not, just ignore it. Only participate in it if it's something you 110% know that you're expecting. So
Call your bank or your credit card on the real number that's physically on the card.
exactly.
Or you also have messages from like FedEx and UPS, etc. Ignore them, because bottom line, it's a fishing expedition to get live people and all the information they can, and they sell it.
Yes.
Yeah, the trouble is they'll tell you there's a problem with order number, and you know you've got an order out, and now you got to look up the number and see whether it matches.
You just
Because-
go back to the number, like you said, Bob. Go to the phone number on the back of your credit card, or call Amazon or wherever directly. Never respond to whatever's in those emails.
Right.
You can't call Amazon directly. Well, I
Well,
mean, you can, but
Yes.
they can
Yeah.
call you. They can call you,
And
but
there's-
you can't call them.
And Amazon in general will never call you.
If you've been in chat with them, you can arrange for them to call you.
Yes,
That's all.
but I said in general, they won't call you unsolicited.
Right.
Okay.
Gentlemen, you have reminded me of a lot of things, and I want to thank you for that. Could I go back to sleep now? No, sorry. I mean, no,
We
I take
already
that
thought
back.
you were asleep.
I take that back.
Okay.
My contract with my carrier, my internet carrier, is going to be coming up at the end of this month, last weekend this month. And I've discovered I had a 2-year contract at a nice price. I was paying $64 a month for 200 megabits per second. Anyway, they want to change things now. But the point is, I call them every year. I've had this company for about 5 or 6 years now. Just prior to the expiration of my contract, to call them and say, hey, I want no changes in this. Because they like to have an introductory rate and then start to jack you after that. I said, well, but I have some better offers. And if you're not going to give me the same rate as I had for the last 4 years, I'm afraid I'll have to leave you and find someone else and do something else. No, sir, we'll give it that for 2 more years. And so they will do that renewal problem situation. And then finally, last but by no means least, I ordered something 4 weeks now. Some of those socks, supports hose to keep my legs from swelling, when I drink too much. But water, that is. So they told me it was going to be here in so many days. It's coming to UPS. Over the weekend, it hadn't arrived. It's 3 weeks now, and I was disappointed. So I said, well, I'm going to call them on Monday morning. They're not open on weekends, and cancel the order and get my money back to my card. Saturday morning, the package came. I didn't open it. I left it right there. Called them this morning and said, excuse me, I ordered this so long. It just came here, and I'm not going to open it. And I'm disappointed. I had to order some socks from somewhere else, and I'm going to have to send this back. Said, no, sir. You can keep that. You can keep it, I hope you're satisfied, and we'll credit your card to the amount that so and so and so. I said, well, thank you, whoop-de-doo, they still take care of old people and old women. So there I was ahead of the game, and I want to thank you. You got to negotiate your stuff wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Yep. Don't let them try to take your last.
That sounds a lot like what happened with my keyboard when it didn't arrive. Eventually it did arrive, but by that time it had been bouncing back and forth between Boston and Kentucky twice. Twice. So yeah, whoever got that other keyboard got one that had bounced around a lot, but it's probably still good.
Right. Okay, we need to move on to our topics. If anyone's got any last questions.
Go to the Bahamas before it came to Hawaii.
Well, it's surrounded by water.
It was in a slow boat to China, sir.
That's normal. That's normal.
It's
slow boat from
water.
China.
Okay, so what? You're in the Pacific and that's the Atlantic. What's the difference here? Come on.
Come through the Panama Canal.
All right. Any last questions for our open forum? None?
No.
Let's go right into our topics that I sent out to everybody. Is any of them look of interest tonight that we need to delve further into? Do you want me to resend this out to the group?
Or post it, share your screen.
Share. Oh, now you want me to share my screen. Oh, okay. I will share my screen. Boy, you're asking so much of me. Share my screen. There we go. All right. So these are some of the things I sent out in the email as topics.
Well, we were talking about firmware updates earlier. Why don't we find out more about them?
Where are firmware updates?
Probably about the second to the last item.
Let's go to the second last, secure recycle bin. How to spiral.
Firmware.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
What is firmware update and what does it do to your device? So let's click on this, right click. Open hyperlink. And did the screen change?
No.
Not yet.
All right. So I will, Jerry, he's not available. How do I share this?
If your browser is open, then you can either switch.
I got it. I'll just do that.
Shares.
Got it. Do you guys see
Got
it?
it.
What is firmware?
There you
update?
go.
There you go.
There you
Got
go.
it.
All right, now ignore the US Bank thing on the right-hand side. Don't go clicking on that. So what is firmware? As we all know, there's hardware embedded into the equipment, the computers and hard drives and the peripherals that we purchase. The firmware is like the software that makes it work. It actually makes it, as they call it, makes the device tick. It makes it actually do whatever it's supposed to do, because it has a software in there that runs in some form of a computer chip or something that tells it, if it's a hard drive, this is how you function. This is where the data is stored. This is how you write to it back and forth. None of that is happening in the computer itself. It's actually happening on the hard drive. Does everyone understand that point?
Yeah.
Okay. This is also a case like in your keyboard, in your mouse, in your Nest thermostat. Any of these devices that have chips in there have some type of firmware embedded in them. What is unknown is whether or not you can update that. In many cases, but not all, firmware updates can become available from the manufacturer. So you're essentially reapplying, if you can get this firmware, you're going to load it onto it, you're going to reapply a new version of that software into that device that's going to make it work. Does this make sense? All right.
Yeah.
So I mentioned some of the things like your router, your printer, modem. What the hell is that? What the hell are they saying modem? Who uses a modem these days? Oh, your cable modem.
Your cable
That's
modem, yeah.
See, now they should have clarified. If you have a cable modem, there is software on that one that makes it work. However, just as an FYI, your cable modem, you generally cannot go and update the firmware on it. Comcast can do it, or whoever you get your internet from, they can do it, possibly, but they won't. They won't do anything to it. They'll just leave it alone.
That's if they own it. You can own your own.
Right, you can own your own. I own my own cable modem, and I know that they can go in, they can make some changes to it, but I don't believe that they make any firmware updates to those things. What the hell is this stupid video that's in this?
They won't do, you can exit out.
There it is.
No, it upper right of it.
Hold on, I got it.
Upper right of the
there it
video,
is.
there's a little
No,
X.
I got it. It was behind,
You got it. It was
it was-
behind your Zoom.
yeah, it was behind my Zoom. So there we go.
Yeah, but anyway, if you own your own cable modem, then you can do your own firmware upgrade when there are those.
There are some.
Yeah.
So where do we want to go where? So there's also firmwares that are embedded on your motherboard.
Your BIOS.
The BIOS is a form of,
Right.
right.
Yeah, that's next.
Which the BIOS means basic, is it
Input,
basic
output,
input, output software?
software.
System.
Right. And so that is basically the bootstrap of how the system works. That is, it communicates in this language. It has this type of peripherals attached to it, and how it actually communicates with the keyboard, with the screen, with the hard drive, blah, 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 how big those are. This is something that has to be loaded every time the computer is turned on, because the chip remembers, the CPU remembers nothing when it loses power.
There will also be EFI, as it says next.
Right,
And EFI isn't just on the motherboard, it's also in the operating system.
right. Okay, so we mentioned the BIOS, we mentioned the EFI, and now it's going to talk to you about how to upgrade the firmware. For one thing, it's not necessary to upgrade the firmware. It's a good thing to do, but it's not necessary. unless you're having a problem with the device. And some people may take the approach, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Okay? Because installing the wrong firmware can actually damage the product or brick it. What they call brick it means it's no longer going to work. It's dead, completely dead. The worst thing you could do is do it to a hard drive. You know, update the firmware on a hard drive and you killed the hard drive and now you can't get to your data and you'll never be able to get to the data anymore. So just be cautious on that one.
Yeah, people sometimes do that to SSDs.
Yes, which is a form of a hard drive. Right, exactly.
But then again, sometimes you need to update the firmware either on the SSD, or if it's an enclosure, you may need to update the firmware of the enclosure.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably the one device I would tell or advise people to update the firmware on frequently or regularly or check it regularly would be your router. That one, if the company is a good company and they're supporting it, updating the firmware in there will help it. They'll load some patches and things in there to keep the bad guys out and to help traffic management internally. So that's probably the one device that you'll want to check. Maybe a couple of times a year, log into your router, check and see if there's any firmware updates. If there are, automatically just go and apply them. You may have a router that will be smart and do it on its own. My Asus router will do it automatically, and I just go and check it once in a while and see if it needs a new one, but it usually does it in the background and reboots at 2 o'clock in the morning when it doesn't bother anything.
Yeah, I also have a wireless printer that gets pretty frequent firmware updates.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's good. Your printer does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good Epson.
Okay, well, this was a good topic. Anyone have questions on how to update their firmware?
It's an interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's an interesting process if you've ever done it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not so easy to do.
That's an interesting observation, and you guys have just challenged the whole gray matter up here, and it's not my hair, it's just the brain. And that is these aspects of managing your systems, how they seem to be sometimes necessary and sometimes not. And what I like about my Apple Orchard is the fact that I don't have to do anything. I just have to sit back, relax, and let it do what it has to do. You know, it doesn't, there's an update, it says bang, 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 everything is as smooth as a baby's bottom. I love it. That
is the Apple environment, the universe of Apple. They don't want you to have to worry about that. They want to offload that from you.
Yep.
Knowing the fact that you're going to get that kind of support or service for a duration, a period of years, whatever it may be, then they're going to stop doing that as long as you're okay with that, which is going to be the case with most computers anyways. After they reach X number of years old, you're not going to get firmware updates into them anyways. In Apple's case, they'll at least give you the upgrade paths on the software, that is the iOS, which is different than the firmware that's underlying there. So, Tim, you had your hand up?
For Apple, generally speaking, they recycle every 5 years. So once you hit 5 years of age on a device, they usually do not support it any longer. I've got a couple Mac Pros that are stuck on High Sierra operating system. I can't go to any of the newer operating systems because it's more than 5 years old.
True.
It's also because it doesn't meet the hardware requirements, which is
in part
different than Windows for most reasons, with the exception of Windows 11, or whatever they're going to call it. You could be able to load Windows and upgrade Windows to most of the past old hardware. Windows 10, that is. You can be able to have an upgrade path. But I would not try to do that on a 386 or a 486 computer. I think, with maybe a gig or maybe a gig, maybe 500 megs of RAM. I wouldn't do that.
Well, previously there was a watershed moment with Vista where you had to get new hardware.
Yeah. But we're talking way back when.
Yeah. So every once in a while, even Windows will do it.
Right. And this is more with as I see it with Windows 11, this is the once in a while path where your hardware is your older hardware is going to prevent you from doing an upgrade path to the new software.
So are you telling me it's safe to go out there now, dip my toes back into the water, that cold Pacific Ocean, and purchase a PC or build one?
Well, you're not going to have to do that for 4 more years.
There's already discussions that there's a likelihood of Windows 10 being the next Windows XP that went on for 14 years.
And of course, people are still running 7 with certain extended updates.
Yeah. So
I still have a Windows 7 box running.
I do.
Yep.
I also have XP still running.
Yep.
Because as a tech, I every once in a blue moon, I have something pop up that I require running old system in order to know what a person is talking about.
Sure.
Longevity, I think I've got it, because when Sears moved to Hoffman Estates, they started off with OS2.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later than that, they went to Windows NT, but one of my rooms wouldn't run NT. So we moved to Windows 95 on the network there, on a control room.
Wow.
I had that room running. We didn't change it. After we started it up, we did not change any hardware, which was the key to 95. I had it running for 14 years on 95.
Wow.
Almost continuously. I think I had to reboot it 4 times.
Wow.
24/7, 14 years with a couple of minor reboots. So do I have the record?
You do. You do. Because I don't think I ran my OS2 for that long. I think I had OS2 run for 12 years, but it wasn't continuous. Booted up every day.
This was continuous running.
That's
24.
If you guys can see this,
ooh.
I was scrounging for some miscellaneous parts for another computer out of my junk pile. And I didn't know this was even in the machine that was being scrapped. This is a 5 1/4 inch hard drive out of that machine.
Yeah.
Guess what? It still runs. There's Windows 98 on it, but right now I have to play a game and I haven't got time right now in order to get this thing to run on a modern computer.
Oh, I'll bet you do, because trying to find a hardware interface for it, it's difficult.
No, I've got machines. This is an old PATA style. I've got some old machines like that have PATA interfaces, and I have hooked it up. That's how I know 98's on here. I just can't get it to run correctly yet because I have to figure out the configuration files like config sys and auto exec bat and the drivers on there to see if I can get this thing functional.
You guys scare me, man. I got an Apple II. How about that?
Well, I mean, I have had older stuff, but most of it was on floppy disk that you can't read even if you got a floppy disk drive, like I have a USB one. And so the end result is most of that's all junk.
Yeah, well, you saw that second webcam I was using to show my keyboard. That's a very old Logitech, and the company no longer supports it. It never supported it for Windows 10, but it turned out that if I went into my administrator account, Microsoft could find a driver that would make it work.
Okay, let's move on from old technology that we're somehow still using. That does not include your electric socks or anything. Let's go into something new. Tony, yes, what do you got?
No, I was just saying my electric socks. Leave me alone. Don't mess with my socks.
Okay. What else do we have in our topics tonight? People would like us to cover or bring up.
10 ways to boost it.
10 ways to boost
Wi-Fi.
the
I
signal.
like that one. Let's try to boost our
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Open hyperlink. Okay. And share this one. Okay, so 10 ways to boost our Wi-Fi signal. I don't think it includes putting aluminum foil around them.
Uh-oh,
No?
messed up.
A Faraday cage.
The first thing I would tell you to do is you want to get a separate app to load on. This is not in this article, but I would suggest that you get a separate app that you load on to your phone, like something like Wi-Fi Inspector. And Wi-Fi Inspector, when you have the app running and you walk around your house, you can see how much signal you're getting from closer to your router to as far as away. As you move away from it, you'll see the fall off and you can see how much signal you're losing. The other thing you want to know is what channel you're on. Very important to know what channel you're actually transmitting on. At the same time as knowing what channel your neighbors are on. And in the case of Bob, who lives in a multi-unit building, he has lots of people around him with routers and they're constantly clashing. So he wants to pick a channel that's not going to be the same one as other people are using. That would be the case also in your own neighborhood, wherever your house is at, or your wherever you're living. You may need to IP address into your router. We talked about this in the last meeting, to change the channel you're on to a channel that's different than what your neighbors are on. That's probably one of the first things I would suggest to people. So let's see. You could run a test on your internet speed. There's probably on here some sites that you can go and do that too. What is speedtest.net? I think is one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. If you type that into your browser, type speedtest.net and run a speed test. We could do that real quick on mine.
Now remember, with Zoom running, you're not necessarily going to get accurate numbers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. First thing, did you guys see my screen change?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So you see that it says go in the middle?
Yep.
Yep, gotcha.
I just want to make sure. All right. So it's identifying that I'm with Xfinity. It's giving you my IP address. Now you know my IP address, so you guys can IP directly into my network here. And if you hit go, we'll see what it gets. Wow, I'm getting 100. I think I only pay for like 200 megabits, so I'm probably not going to get that. As Bob said, it's going to be lower because I'm doing a Zoom meeting right now.
Yeah, it thinks
So
you're
the first
120.
Yeah, first thing it's going to calculate is your download speed, which is the most important for what it's feeding to you. Your upload speed, how much you send back out. I'm only getting 5.5 megabits upload. Not a problem unless I am needing to upload or send large files, or if I'm running a server type application, then upload speed is important. But if if you're only doing download and consuming content on the web, your download speed is the most important factor here.
Yeah, and for Zoom meetings, ping and latency do matter.
Yes. Bob, you want to explain ping?
Ping is how long it takes for the signal to get between you and the nearest server,
Yep.
or between you and the server and then back again.
Right. So that is when you hit enter, how long does it take for it to go, aha, he's there. And he
That's-
needs something.
Yeah, that's sort of like a delay, but it's not the same as latency.
Right. Latency, you want to talk about latency? I don't see latency discussed in here.
Well, in video especially, you can have a very large difference between when the video arrives and when the audio arrives. And that makes speakers get all out of sync. And video games will have problems with that too.
You hit on an important factor there, gaming. Gaming is when all these numbers really become important. If you're a heavy gamer, you want a fast, super fast connection, both upload and download speeds and minimal pings and latency, all that together. And that's what will give you the maximum performance from your games, and you'll really appreciate that.
Yeah, low latency actually beats out super fast speeds in gaming. Although
Okay.
they are related a little bit.
So we ran a speed test. The one thing you'll want to note is when you run a speed test, don't just run it once, run it again, run it an hour later, run it 6 hours later,
Yeah.
run it in the morning, in the middle of the night, all different kinds. But you should take note that when you're running at any time after roughly, I'll say 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon till maybe 9-10 o'clock at night, you should get your slowest speeds. And that's because unless you're on, and I'll put an asterisk here, unless you're on digital fiber optic, you won't notice it. But if you're on a cable, actual coax cable that's coming to your house, like Comcast or some of the other companies, those time of the days are impacted because more people, AKA young kids that are coming home from school, are getting on their machines or on their devices, and that's when they're consuming more of the bandwidth in your neighborhood. And that's going to degrade your speed quality than what you are paying for. And you just should know that's going to happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, this has to do with the history of the architecture of the networks, the geometry of them, because cable was designed for downstream. It is therefore like a tree with branches, whereas fiber optic, and this is why you get the same upload speed as download speed with fiber optic. Fiber optic was designed for two-way communication, and so it's point to point.
Let's briefly talk about, before we get too far into this, how much speed do you really need these days?
Much less than you think.
Exactly. It is much less than you think. You know, all the companies would like to sell you these high bandwidths and that you need to have gigabit coming into your house. But if you're only surfing the web and consuming moderate amount of content, and that would include watching Netflix or other streaming things, you can get away with, someone want to say, I say 30 megabits.
What?
50 to 100 is really good. 30 to 50 will work in most cases.
Right. 30 to 50 will get you through pretty much very well at watching your 1080, 720 to maybe 1080p on 2 TVs in your house simultaneously. That's all you need. If you're going to be going into 4K and you're paying for 4K content to come in, that's where you'll need more bandwidth. And I do not have any practical knowledge to tell you how much bandwidth you need for that. Someone want to elaborate? Anyone?
So you got to remember that the bandwidth coming to the house is shared by every device in the house.
Yep.
That includes the phones, the rings, the thermostats and everything else.
They're all taking a slice out of that.
Right.
So if you got a fully IoT house and you got kids living there, you're gonna need the high bandwidth.
Yeah.
But if you and your wife and you don't even have a furnace, you don't need all of that bandwidth.
Very
Especially
true.
when one of you is gone half the day.
Right. Many of us are actually paying for service, a lot more service than we actually consume.
Yeah.
And your internet provider is not going to necessarily tell you how much you're consuming. You may have to run some type of software or get into their billing system or something that it'll tell you how much bandwidth you're actually consuming over a given period of time.
Yeah, but that has to do with the cap per month. It doesn't really have to do with your momentary use.
Correct. Yes. Let's see. What else do we need to talk about this? For one thing, part of that running that speed test is to confirm whether or not you're getting what you're paying for. If you're paying for a gigabit and you're only getting 100 megabits, something is drastically wrong here. And that's when you would contact whoever your provider is and complain to them and tell them you're not getting what you're paying for, and they'll have you run some tests, and then they'll say, oh yeah, you're getting it. No, I'm not getting it. This is what my tests are saying. And they'll give you more excuses, and then you complain, and you might be able to get a reduction in your bill. Probably not. But you might be able to get them to goose up your speed because they can control it remotely. They actually can throttle you how much speed you're getting at any given moment. Whether it's down at the nodes that are out in your street, or it could be as close as your cable modem.
Yeah, and they also should check the outside connection if you're not getting your speed that you're rated for, and they think you are.
That's particularly true if your cable comes in off of telephone poles versus underground. Because the ones that are on the pole, squirrels like gnawing at the insulation. And when you have strong winds, that wire is wrapped around the main feed. It's not connected in any other fashion, so it gets loosened. So at times you may need a lineman to come out to check the line.
Yeah, and the same thing can happen to the connection at your house, again, unless it's coming from underground, like mine does here.
Okay, another thing that affects your performance is, and this will directly affect the performance of your Wi-Fi in your house, is the placement of your router, your Wi-Fi router. Where do you have it? In a lot of cases, people just put it wherever the cable, next to where the cable comes in through the wall into their house, usually on the main level or maybe in the basement, but probably the main level it comes in, and it snakes through, and they have the router behind their TV. Bad place, okay? At least in my opinion. If you're in a house that has multi-stories, that is like a 2-story colonial style that most of us have in the Midwest, my opinion is, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, the higher you can place that router, the better off your signal will be throughout the entire house. That is to say, if you could put it on the second level, in the middle of the house, in the middle bedroom, that is perfect, because my knowledge is the signal actually cascades down like an umbrella. So if your router, from the antennas, it actually comes down like that, like an umbrella, and it envelops your house. If you have it on a lower level, that signal is not going up, it's coming down.
Right. You are correct on that completely.
Thank you.
I have a guy that has it in his basement because that's where the company put the router. And he's up on the top floor and can't get good service through Wi-Fi. So the end result is I told him he had to get a repeater and put it up on the main level to push the signal up to where he needed it.
Right,
I'm not-
and I was gonna touch on that in a bit, but you kind of jumped us on that.
Yeah, there's another little trick that people sometimes use if the router has to be in the basement. They can put it upside down on the ceiling and attach it that way.
Yes, yeah. But the thing is to note is the direction the antennas go.
Right.
The antennas should point up towards the sky, not
Right.
horizontally. So if you mounted it like you're discussing there, you somehow got to get those antennas pointing up because it comes out from the top of the antennas, and that's where it's doing the umbrella effect from. It's not coming from the length of them. It's the whole thing, but it's more of the way the signal comes out of it. And this is interesting point of information that I was telling you about the shape of the signal. Is I have a neighbor across the street, a younger gentleman than me. He's in his 40s, and he's a computer programmer. I told him this one just 3 days ago. He says, I have never heard this to date. No one has ever told me about putting the router in the upper level, and that's how we're going to get better signal. And the fact that it falls down like an umbrella. He says, his mind was blown away. Could not believe it. So I said, check it out, but this is my understanding, is the way it works.
That's
Bob,
correct.
you hit it. Bob, you did hit it on the head, and Tim, same thing. If you're having difficulties, if your router must be placed in a lower level and you cannot get it to the highest level of the house, then get a Wi-Fi extender and put it on the next level above, but in proximity to where the other unit is. After you've configured it, what it will do is it will talk to the router at the highest possible connection speed, and then it'll boost that signal and send it up further. So you'll be able to leapfrog the signal further up into your house. Or if you have a long house, you might need to boost it further along on the length of the house. I have my router located probably right underneath my butt, somewhere in my basement. It is in my basement, but I'm in a ranch house. So it doesn't degrade too much until I get to one end of the house. And I do have an extender down there, and it does a beautiful job bringing that signal across the rest of the house.
Now, if you were a true gamer, you would probably notice that extenders introduce lag and latency. Whereas if you have these new mesh routers, they're simultaneous.
Yeah. Mesh routers, that's a whole nother department of discussion, which I don't necessarily have a lot of knowledge on, but I do understand they all are working kind of in bridge mode as access points. And they're doing the same thing. They're leapfrogging the data around and moving it back to the main router. The optimum way to get signal throughout your house is actually have stuff hardwire connected.
Yeah.
That's the best way of doing it. However, not everyone does that these days, and houses are not being wired up for that anymore because everyone's doing Wi-Fi.
Actually, for a long time in the early 2000s and 2010s, there were houses being built with the wiring already in.
Yes. Yeah, there was. But I don't think they're doing that much anymore.
Well, they won't, because the upcoming 5G is going to be fixed wireless.
Right. And that 5G will probably supersede a lot of this because it's going to be external outside, and we're all going to use some different type of devices to access, and it's going to give us incredibly fast speeds. I don't know how that relates to gigabit, but it'll give us fast speeds.
It isn't always faster, but sometimes.
Back to this article, one of the things that you may want to be aware of is if you have any IoT devices that are old, really old technology, that are still using B and G, specifically B, you want to get rid of those devices or get them off your network or put them onto their own type of router network, because what will happen is your main router is going to have to slow down everything just to talk to that one old device. And that it's just the way the system works. So you may want to consider getting rid of that IoT device that's running an old B or G even, if you can get away from that. What you want is what, AC or AX. N is somewhat slower, but anything that's running A, B, or G, you want to try to get rid of. Tim, sorry, you got those old devices. That's what you're going to live with.
Oh, I'm well aware of the difference on the bandwidth.
Yeah.
And you're correct. Anybody with B, G, or N is losing out. Even there's A type Wi-Fi adapters before AC adapters and AX adapters came out. So
Right.
on a lot of my old machines, I replaced the Wi-Fi card inside the laptops and also in the desktops. So I'm pretty good there. It's just if I do run into an old machine that's real slow, then I have alternate routers in the house that I can use those with.
Okay, so back to this article, they were also saying here is you do not want to put your router, your Wi-Fi router, into a cabinet or an enclosed space. Don't put it into a closet. Don't put it into a small room or out of sight. You actually want it to be exposed to the air as much as possible, because that signal is going to get degraded as it goes through anything. That is, it goes through the drywall, it goes through any wood cabinets. If there's metal in your house, particularly metal studs, concrete and metal completely block out the signal, and it is not going to go through those two substances very well at all. So just note that exists.
So on that, you got to take into effect where your HVAC ducting is.
Yes. Yep.
And you don't want to put your significant other on the other side of the kitchen from where your router is.
Unless you want to be in agony a lot.
Or you got to take extended factors, get it up to the ceiling above the refrigerator and above the stove, stuff like that.
Yes. Any way you can possibly move that thing to a higher or more open location.
Okay, so shut up.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and this article basically says the same thing I was just saying about open spaces away from walls or obstructions. We know it's an ugly box, but you need to get it out in the open. Also, you want airflow through the unit because it's
when you went to
basically,
Dr. Martin, where was his office?
it is a computer, and that computer is generating heat no matter
Was it in
what.
Delray? I have to remember things, Al.
Let's see. External antennas, orientate them vertically, as I said, not horizontally. And what else do we need to go through on here?
Because he has one in Delray and one in Boynton Beach.
Okay. If your router has 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, that is a dual band, just note that the 2.4 is going to go the broadest spectrum or distance across your house. It's going to be the slower speed, but it's going to reach more of your home. The 5 gigahertz is going to be your highest throughput, but it's going to be as localized as you can get to the router. The further away you get from that router, the more that's going to fall off in speed. I would use 2.4 for your general products and 5 gigahertz for the things that you need high-speed communication and video downlinking from.
A
Video,
lot of the things like the thermostats and whatnot are all 2.4.
right, I would put those all, your thermostats, any IoT device, I would have those all on 2.4. Now, I don't know about like the Facebook, their tablet thing or the Google tablet, whatever it is that they have a video interface.
Yeah, the portal and the various other things.
I don't know if those run on 2.4 or 5.
Echo Show from Amazon. And my guess is they're still 2.4.
Yeah.
Well, the other
Amazon.
thing that came up is that when you started talking about the dual band, that gets into your Wi-Fi extenders. I recommend you make sure it's a dual band, and there's lots of them out there.
A quick question, if I may.
Go ahead.
You all make me feel old or young or something, because everybody's talking about, I used to have them with the ears. It was a Netgear. When I moved into my place, they gave me, I had my office in the home. So they put a router downstairs where the stuff comes in from underground. Everything here is underground. And they put a router down there with 2 ears in it. And everything is coax coming upstairs to everything, you know. Then my office is upstairs, and that will come in through the coax, and I had another router on the desk, but it didn't have any ears to it. Now all that is gone, and I have Xfinity, and they give me a little box like this. It doesn't have any ears in it. So what do I do with that?
The ears are actually built into the unit, and I think, I don't know how they do them. They're probably around the circumference around it or something.
Mhm.
There's nothing you can do. You just place it on the table the way it's designed to sit, and hopefully that will work. Put it as high in the house as possible as you, same idea is that it's going to come down like an umbrella, the signal will. Hopefully that will help you. They make them a lot more simpler for those people that are using the less complex units. If you're a gamer, you'll find ones with antennas all the way around the whole thing.
Now, how does coax facilitate or defacilitate or retard distribution in the different rooms in your home? Because all my rooms have coax, and I just plug up the thing to the coax when in the office, and the coax is distributed all over the house. Not Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is just in the air, but the coax live stuff for my TVs and all that.
The coax is actually for your TV signal. I don't think that's for internet, is it?
It can be. It can be.
Yeah.
There is a system called MoCA, which uses coax.
Okay.
And MoCA is a distribution that goes from the modem or router out into the various, it actually goes to additional modems that each device, like each TV might have. I have a TiVo, and if I wanted to have a TiVo extender to connect to another TV, it would connect by coax from the original TiVo, and part of that connection goes back to the router as coax. So it is possible.
So how do you connect if you have a regular router? Wait, I don't understand this. How do you connect a coax to a router?
There's a MoCA device which acts as a bridge.
Okay, but if Tony doesn't have that MoCA device.
Wait a minute.
Wait, hold on, Tony, speak.
Wait a minute. Right now, I have the Xfinity router in my office on the first floor. Everything is on Wi-Fi. Let me see. Yeah, everything comes from Wi-Fi, except my granddaughter's smart TV in this room here, which she plugs it into the wall. That's interesting. Now you have me thinking. I don't know if those coax cables are live, if they have juice in them.
I think your coax is strictly for your cable TV or your TV network.
Okay, that's straight for the network. Okay. All right.
I,
TV network, not necessarily for your internet network. It's
if
not
it's, if it's cable TV, that's a different matter. The cable signal can come directly into a smart TV because they have a function called cable card,
Okay.
and that's a modem.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Let me back up a bit. I don't have any TV stuff in my house besides the boxes. All I have is internet service in my house. Okay, so I don't, all those coax and stuff are hanging around here, whatever is plugged in, it is not working because by from television signals. I don't have any TV signal. I'm not paying for TV, just for internet, you know, and I have, you know, Fire Stick and Apple TVs and everything connected up and they run well. So I'm guessing now, based on what you're saying, is that many of these things gather the signal through the Wi-Fi and then distribute them?
No,
Yes.
yes, what you're doing does use Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Your daughter's
devices-
your daughter's smart TV even uses Wi-Fi, because I've got a smart TV on my desk that I use a monitor of it. I turn off the computer, it jumps over and gets some of the free channels off the cable through Wi-Fi.
Right, yeah. I'm seeing my granddaughter is smart. I didn't say that the TV is smart. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
Yeah, the thing you would be doing for TV if you don't have the service is it's off the air. So it's got to be some kind of antenna distribution. And that does use coax. But that's only for TV signals off the air.
he's doing streaming only over the internet, right?
No, I'm doing everything comes over the internet.
Right.
I have
Okay.
no TV signal. I'm not paying for TV. It doesn't come into anything. And I don't know. That's interesting. The smart TV, that one, what the heck is this? How come all these TVs getting Wi-Fi signals?
Yes, they do. They do.
Yes.
All these TVs getting Wi-Fi signals.
If they're a smart TV,
No, that one isn't smart. There's only one smart one here. And that's
Okay.
me.
okay, only a smart TV is getting signal from via
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
So all the others are getting it through.
Through antenna and coax.
Or from your
Coax.
streaming device that's attached to it. So if you're using the Apple TV,
Yes,
Apple TV is a streaming device.
right.
It has a built-in antenna,
Fire Stick is a streaming device.
okay? Or
Okay.
it has an RJ45 jack on the back, so you could run a network cable to it.
Mhm.
Either way, it will get signal into it, and then it's reading that signal, it's talking to your router, and then it's getting the TV streaming service through that.
You guys are right. I'll tell you what. Hold on there just now. Don't you all go anywhere.
Yeah.
Hold on just a minute. I have here, my Xfinity tells me what is going on. I like this. This is the best class I've had all day long. This says X Wi-Fi gateway online, view details. And when I hit that there, it tells me my network, internet health, advanced security, and goes on. Amazon Echo series speaker, that's an Amazon speaker there. Amazon TV Fire Stick Generation 2, Amazon Fire Stick TV 4K, Apple iPhone 13, Household Nest, Household Sonos ZP thing, iPad, Living Room Apple TV, Starling Home Hub, Tony's MVP. That's
Boy,
my-
Tony, you got a lot of stuff going on in your network.
Easy, I'm paying for it, so then free. I have 10 devices not connected. Are those connected? 10 devices not connected. Oh, Fire Stick that, yeah. So 27-inch Mac TV, that is not connected. I have a generic brand Windows laptop PC that ain't connected. I have a regular PC that hasn't been connected in a month or
Tony,
Sunday.
can I make a comment? The
Go.
stuff that's not connected
Mhm.
means that they're currently not turned on. But your network has registered them as a user.
Oh, so I should say not turned on?
Right, that's what it means, not connected. But it
Yes,
means
yes,
that
it's
at
not
some
turned on right
point
here.
you connected them to the network.
Right,
So
then
it
it
leaves
shows.
what they call a place card for them.
Okay, great. I got you. Thanks. I appreciate that. So,
So it-
the point is right now I have 10 devices not connected, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 are connected. Those
You
are
have
what are
21
all now.
devices potentially connected to your network.
Hmm?
You have potentially 21 devices.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're a good man. Very good
That's a
counting.
lot of devices.
Good math. Well, it is. It's a home. Where I don't live anywhere else but here.
Yep.
You know. And when my granddaughter comes and she turns this on and she has a Chromebook and everything going and stuff, I can't pay attention to that stuff. But I'm glad that clarified everything. Everything is getting its signal from my internet system.
From your router.
Yeah.
From the router. And nothing, although the coax cables are connected there, those that are not connected can use what? They're
So
still
you're,
using.
Tony, you've never hooked those TVs that
Oh,
are in
yeah,
your house to?
Yes,
to the-
sometimes I go in the office and I turn on that one there. The PC, don't ask me about the PC. I haven't turned that on, I don't know, maybe in a year.
Okay, but
You
you
know.
do know that you can get free TV service over the air, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And I'm done better than that. I have 90 channels I can get over the year. All the ABC, CBS, you know, Stars, Cinemax, I get all those through my internet system. That's another day for another topic, so gentlemen.
Okay, right. That's another day, another topic.
Yeah, nice. Woo-wee.
So
Yeah,
if you want to boost your signal,
Mhm.
you could somehow connect your router.
Mhm.
There should be 4 or 5 jacks in the back of it with
Mhm.
some RJ45s. And if you
Mhm.
ran a hard wire from
Mhm.
there up to your upstairs, which you'd have to somehow figure out how to do, and then put another router up there, you'll have the maximum throughput.
What you're saying? Get another router and hardwire from the one I have now
To the
to.
upstairs.
Well, I'm upstairs. Everything is upstairs.
Everything's upstairs.
Yeah, everything is upstairs in the
Oh,
office.
then never mind what I said.
Okay, because the downstairs, I don't. That's when they did it when I first came in. They had
Okay.
one downstairs and I also had one upstairs.
Okay, then
I
you're,
don't have nothing downstairs.
okay.
But
Never mind.
the thing with downstairs, if I get back one of those routers or buy one or whatever it is, I can wire it up to the coax downstairs and then distribute it to all these coax outlets up here. I think.
The coax is not for your internet.
Oh, it's
That's-
not for the internet. Oh,
No,
sorry.
that's your TV signal.
Oh, that was for the TV. I'm now getting it straight. Okay.
If you
That
had,
was-
if you had cable TV coming into your house,
Yes, that's what I
you
had
had
before.
satellite signal coming into the house, or you put an antenna, let's say up in your attic, and connected that to it. Anywhere you connected to it, you're going to be running TV signal through the coax system.
Okay.
The rest of the TVs that are connected, rest of the TVs, only the
TVs, not only
TVs.
TV. Oh, gotcha now. Okay. You have now clarified. It's now as clear as mud. Okay, it's very good.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
nice. Thank you.
30 years since they used coax for any sort of a network connection.
Yeah.
They used to
What-
use it on the old 10 megabit with VNC connectors.
What's used these days when he says RJ 47 or whatever it is,
45.
that 45, RJ 45 is Ethernet.
Right. But they did used to use coax in an Ethernet configuration
Yep.
Yeah.
way back in prehistory.
Long ago when they were still writing on stone tablets.
Easy. That
And
Moses.
using OS2.
Oh,
And
okay,
using
Moses. All right.
OS2.
Okay, Mo. All
Maybe
right.
even using OS1.
But I'm only living here 11 years now, and this is brand new when I moved in here.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I come into
long
my,
ago.
I come into my house with the coax cable,
Hmm.
and then it's got a splitter. And the splitter, one of the cables goes over to the modem for my
Mhm.
Wi-Fi, and the
Mhm.
other goes to all the TVs.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's a common configuration.
Which I've got more splitters because I got a bunch of TVs.
Interesting. Okay, gentlemen, you all done well. You can have the rest of the day off and a scoop of ice cream for everyone except who's that there? Kikas hasn't said a word. Don't give him any.
Tim.
Okay, back to our article here. It's a discussion I had before is if you having problems Use a Wi-Fi manager to see if your neighbors are on the same channel that you're on. That is, it's on your TV. You're transmitting and receiving on specific channels from your router. And that's the frequency that it's using. If you're clashing with your neighbors, you'll want to change the default channel that you're on, and you'll have to go into your router configurations to make that change. And we're not going to go into that tonight. We did that last month, but we could do this again at a future date. This article may walk you through that, but you should know that this exists. I'll tell you, by default, most routers are configured as they come in from the factory to be on channel 6. And if everybody's on channel 6, they're all going to be butting heads because they're stepping on each other, all talking at the same channel. So it's kind of like a CB radio. If you're all turned on channel 6 and you're talking at once, you can't be able to hear everybody, an individual, you hear garbled. You'll get bits and pieces. So you want to change what channel you're on. And preferably 2 or I would say 3 steps, 3 numbers away from whatever your other interfering channel would be. So if they're on 6, maybe choose 9 or 3 or something like that, because you're going to be using 2 channels, one for transmit and one to receive. So you don't want to use 5 because 5 is going to use 5 and 6. Okay. If you use 3, it's going to be 3 and 4. You kind of get the picture here?
Yep.
If using 7, it's going to be 7 and 8. And that's just for the 2.4 gigahertz. The 5 gigahertz is less of a problem. They have more channels available. All right, what else do we got to talk about here? Choose the channel. I've talked about that one. Always talks a lot about that. Yep, Aaron even says, this thing's reiterating everything I just told you here.
Yeah.
So on that channel thing, I got a question.
Yes.
This is a local thing. I'm on Spectrum, which is the service, one of the 2 telecom service providers on the island. Okay, they brought a fiber cable up to the development and they split it inside the development. I don't know how they split it because I can't get into their box. I don't want to get into their box. But I know it at least 8 or 16 apartments are off the same feed coming in from the cable, from the fiber, in the 2 buildings that are adjacent by me. Now, when I open up and go on to connect, I see probably 12 or 15 different wireless networks. So they are not separating it at the apartment level. They're separating it at the block level. So do I got to look into all of the rest of those for the channels that they're using? Because my wireless router can see them.
Does your wireless router have auto configuration for channel selection, or is it one you have to assign?
I believe it's currently on auto.
Okay. It may do its own switching. It may do that, Pete. So it picks other, maybe an appropriate channel, and it might be dynamic. You'll have to read in the manual on that one to see if it does that automatically. Anyone else want to input on this subject here?
Comcast also has in their modems auto select, and it will shift what channel it's using according to what's least used.
Okay.
Okay, so their modem, because it's cable coming into the house to their modem.
Okay.
And then it goes to my router.
Right. The modem is the interface. The router is what is handling your IP addresses, is handling all the traffic flow internally in your house. And
Right.
then that sends it to the cable modem. The cable modem's job is to translate everything into bits and send it off up and down the pipeline.
So what I'm getting from there is that their modem does not have a firewall that is separating me from the rest of the whole apartment network.
No, usually the firewall is in the router,
Right,
not
right,
in the
right.
modem.
No,
Which
don't
is
think of it as cable modems are not a firewall.
Okay,
What they are is it's the translation and the communication up and down the pipeline. But that cable modem has a specific IP address or an address, and that's what is the filter. What's coming to you, it might be everybody's coming down that cable that comes into that modem, but at that modem, it's looking for the protocol that's identifying you and your traffic flow, and only going to allow what's permittable through you for the address to get through to your router. It's like the filter. It's like a very screen, and it's only going to let what needs to get through to Pete, but everybody else is being ignored. Because once it gets on that cable to cable modem, the packets all have your IP address and
Right,
translation sequence built into it in every packet that goes to and from. That's part of the communication stream. Because once it gets out into that network, it's all put together going
Right.
down this massive pipeline. I'll put it like this, but it's really not that big. It's actually
Not that big.
It's nothing. Yeah.
They have a 2-inch plastic conduit around it.
Right. But anyways, that's, everyone's put together all at once, but it's the individual packets that have the code that your cable modem is going to say, allow this communication to come through, and it goes through to your router. It's also going to be the part that's going to say, that sends it back down the pipeline. It's going to introduce that packet information as part of the header that says, this is Pete, from Pete. Send it out. I'm making
So it's not the local router, it's my wireless card in my desktop that is seeing all the other routers in the community.
Yeah, your wireless, like in your handheld device, you're seeing what's being broadcast by everybody else.
Okay,
but if you are not seeing somebody that's a block away because their signal from their router is falling off and you can't get it that far. But realistically, they're on the same pipeline that's feeding your house. It's like a water main that's coming through. The water main is connecting everybody together, but it's only that spur that's coming to you that you're getting the water from. And that's the only thing you're seeing in the Wi-Fi router, is what you could see locally. But the guy down the street is still on that same water main.
that is agreed. Now, the question I have, if I turn off my router and have the desktop on, and the wireless card is seeing all the other.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they'll see them, but you can't communicate to
Unless you have the password.
Right.
Understood.
Right.
Or unless it's public.
If you use something like a Wi-Fi manager on your cell phone, and you could turn off the cellular and just have it, you can use any, like a tablet or something that's Wi-Fi only, and put a Wi-Fi manager on there. Wi-Fi inspector is what you want. That will let you see all the other signals that are in your proximity, whatever the proximity might be. And as you walk down the block, you'll see new people pop on and other people will fall off.
Right.
So they could cause interference even though they're not on. They could cause wireless interference.
Yes.
Even though they're not directly connected through the protocol to my
Correct.
local network.
And it could be because they're also on a competing network. So, you know, maybe you're on XYZ company and they're on ABC company. That doesn't matter. It's the Wi-Fi signal itself is what matters. And the channel that they're on and they're broadcasting, because that's the immediate local service is what's coming out of that router. And that router's job is to translate internet protocol addresses and give it to everybody that's on that you authorize to be on there. Like Tony read through a list, every one of those devices, all 21 of them, are permissible through that router.
My IP address.
Right, and your IP address, regardless of what's going on at his neighbor's.
Yeah, and I've seen them too.
Because he's given them passwords and the protocols to get through his router. But the others are still there.
Yep.
He's just not getting permission for them to be on his router.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So Pete, that's why you want a Wi-Fi inspector running on a Wi-Fi only device and just look at what other channels people are on and are they stepping on you or are you stepping on them? And we discussed that on the channel part earlier conversation.
Now, I don't know if it's the time or the place for this. Remember some time ago, we were doing the cameras, you know, security cameras and all that stuff.
Yes.
Where does this fit in this particular lesson this evening, teacher? Is this going to be cameras or Wi-Fi or they're hardwired?
Well, you can do both, but more than likely they're going to be Wi-Fi devices today. You can have a hardwired security camera running to a DVR or running to something in your house. It could be running directly to your router or to your switch. If you have a switch in the house, we didn't talk about switches. Essentially, I want to just backtrack a little and give you a little snippet. In the back of your router, if there's 5 plugs back there, those are actually talking through what they call a switch. And it's a switch's job is to listen each one of those 5 ports, 4 or 5 ports, and to switch the communication very rapidly between them. And that's what it does. Now you can have more switches in your house to run hardwired items. Only hardwired are like a Ethernet connection. Those go through a switch. Even in the back of your router, as I said, that's a switch. Okay. So in my house, I have 2 switches and a router running, and all ports are full because I have hardwired the whole house for many devices. This is what I did years ago. So, and then the router makes it Wi-Fi. It transmits it to the rest. But the router's job is to handle the internet protocols, the IP address of every device that's attached to the network. So everything has a unique address and it gives it priorities and permissions.
Gotcha.
Pete, did we cover you well enough to understand?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So get something like Wi-Fi Inspector. I think it's free. I think that's exactly what it's called, Wi-Fi Inspector. You could load it on your phone. You could load it on an iPod or a tablet. Any Wi-Fi only device works best. But you can run it on your phone and it doesn't matter because the Wi-Fi signal will be all right with that. And it's kind of fun walking down the street and seeing as you're walking, you watch your signal fall off and then the next neighbor's house comes up and you'll see what they call their network. You know, it might be Dennis's wireless and the next one could be Wayne's, or it could be Tim could call his XYZ communicate, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Let me ask a couple questions.
Yes, Dennis.
First, let me say that I didn't get to the meeting here today till like 7 o'clock. My wife logged me in because I was doing yoga class at the YMCA.
Yoga.
So she logged me in and she said she heard people asking why do I have a green, why is there a green screen? That's because she has this green sticky note over the camera.
Wow.
That's why
Oh, so it's really literally a green screen.
it's really a good, it's really a sticky note here, right here. With a piece of tape, she puts on this, so that's why.
I like that.
So-
As a footnote to that, I'm using a brand new laptop here that I picked up a couple months ago. And this one comes with a built-in slide, little slide that goes over the camera. So I can just slide that on and off like this. There, I just, and here I have it back on. So it's built into my laptop. It's not a little sticky note that I put in. However, all my tablets now, I put a little piece of black tape over the cameras just to prevent people from turning them on, because I'm worried about that days.
So anyway, that's all I just wanted to explain. So she sets it up for me. So when I come home, I can just walk right in and there you are.
Okay.
But anyway.
Well, Dennis, have you ever done goat yoga?
Goat yoga?
Yes.
No, I'm not.
I tell you, my wife and I and a bunch of friends, we did that out in Galena, Illinois. There's a place out there that does goat yoga. And while you're doing your yoga, there's goats walking around. They jump on your back. They're laying underneath you. They're poking you in the head. It puts a whole nother dimension and makes it a lot more fun.
I have a hard enough time getting up from the ground by myself, let alone with a goat on my back.
Oh, you should be on their back.
So I got two questions. Let me explain one first. So my setup with WOW is the cable comes into the house, goes to WOW's modem, and then from WOW's modem, there's a short cable that goes to my router. And then from my router, I have both hard wires and I also use the Wi-Fi. So the thing I'm not quite understanding when Tony was talking about his is this. If I were to make a switch to Xfinity, does Xfinity only have one box? Because it sounded like, in other words, for me to set up passwords, I do it on my router. They have a modem. I have a modem box. I have a router box. It sounds like Tony only has one box. Is that the case?
You're absolutely correct. So one box.
You're correct, Dennis. That's what Xfinity did, is they incorporated both items into one physical box.
And that's how you set up passwords in that.
Right. But if you were to physically open up the box, you would see that there is circuitry here for a cable modem separate from a router.
Okay.
And they're two physical things, but they're in the same hardware box.
Right.
But and still Tony has the ability to still create his own passwords.
Distribution. I have an app, says Infinity, and I open that app just now and I look at it and I see all what my systems are. And if my granddaughter is here tonight and I don't want her to be watching this crazy TV, I just knock her off, you know. She said, Daddy, what is the password? I said, I don't know. But no. So I can knock them off. I can knock off what I want to, because I have control. I have the master switch here. But each one of them has their own, they have the same password for my IP address, but each one can be managed remotely with my app here and my cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah, the app adds an additional level of control, which is different from the passwords.
Yeah.
It's like having an administrator who can control a whole bunch of guest accounts.
Right. But the password is same for everybody, you know?
Right.
Once you have the password, you come in, you can just hook it up. So that's
all right. So my second question is this. So yeah, I do have the way it was originally hooked up. It's coming down into the basement, and I do have some areas of the house where I use a lot of hard wire as well. But there are some sections where my wife wants to use her Chromebook and stuff. Wi-Fi. So let me ask this: so I have the two boxes. if I want to relocate the box, as you guys were saying, maybe toward the center of the house, maybe lift it up to a higher floor,
Mhm.
do I try to extend the cable that's coming to WOW's modem and move the two boxes together somewhere? Or does it make a difference whether I just move my router and get a much longer wire, leave the cable modem at the wall and move the other box with a long wire? Does it make a difference which is the long wire?
Dennis, it only makes a difference where your router is placed. So if you have a long enough cable, you can leave the modem as is.
Okay.
So
Right.
the cable between the modem and the router is an Ethernet, right?
Yeah.
RJ45?
Yep.
I believe so.
A flat
so-
cable, a flat wire, not a round one.
145.
Yeah, I think it's a
large,
flat one. Yeah, I think
Right.
so.
Flat wire.
flat. Hmm?
So
But
you're-
that probably came with a short wire. So
Right.
Okay.
in other words, I could put a long wire in there and I'd be okay. I could move it.
Not over 50 feet, but yes.
No, not over 195 feet.
Okay.
If you,
Not
why I
over
wanted to do-
195 feet. That is the distance on RJ45 Cat 5 between nodes before you got to buffer the signal again.
or
Okay,
go
maybe,
to a Cat 6.
maybe you've got those big 195-foot houses in Hawaii, but mine isn't that big.
No.
But
Easy,
you'd be
easy,
surprised
good.
how much cabling you'll need to snake through the walls to get up to the upper
Okay,
level.
yeah. True.
Okay,
Yeah,
True.
you could easily exceed 50 feet.
Okay.
you
Yeah.
could, but
But you could throw a 100-foot Cat 5 or Cat 6 cable in there and have no trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Sounds good. Thanks.
You would be then limited on the network speed of the Cat line, which is probably 100 megabytes
Mhm.
Yeah.
for whatever is attached to the end over there.
Yeah,
Right.
that's good.
you
There
could
are-
go to a better cable, like a Cat 6 cable, that
Yeah.
will allow you to get more throughput, but it's gonna cost
Yeah.
Only if the device that the network people provided has the throughput at the plug.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
it would have, the device would have, the two devices, both the modem and the router would have to have Cat 6 or Cat 7 connectors.
Mm,
And be gigabit.
Yeah.
And be gigabit.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Or fiber. You could do 50 on them.
Fiber.
You
That's-
really wanted throughput.
Yippee-ki-yay. Yes, it's fun.
Okay, got it.
You're probably at 100 megabit connections.
And
Unless
Dennis,
you've got a
if
special
that
route.
didn't work, you could, I mean, if that's too difficult to set up, you could just leave the router where it's at and just get an extender, even 2 extenders, and that's a quick, easy installation. But if you could run a cable, that's your best option,
Okay.
all right?
Yeah.
It's the most secure option too, and less subject to any interference, electrical storms, solar storms.
Actually, solar storms can go through those.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, thank you, Bob. Kelly's corrected me. Look at,
Yeah.
SpaceX.
But if you had a return duct for the furnace that went straight down, you could drop the wire down the return duct.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yes.
That's what I did. I did not, from the basement up to my second floor, I ran it through the furnace duct.
Yeah, and you just punch a hole in this somewhere and pull it through.
Yeah, in the floor.
Yeah.
And then what do? You tape it over the
Use
hole?
some silver tape and go, not the vinyl duct tape, the
No,
furnace tape.
It's got to be silver tape, right?
Silver. Yeah. Metal.
Got to be temperature rated.
Well, that's a temperature rated tape.
Yeah.
Right. Probably easier to use an extender.
Yeah, it would be, but Wayne did it, Pete's done it, I'd do it.
I've got that hooked directly to my computer in my office on the second floor.
That's That's what I've done.
I
with a lot of
can buy
mine is
200, I
Yeah.
get 200 megabits.
Well,
Okay, so can we go back to our article here?
back to the article, Article
And,
1.
okay, so what was discussed in here is, I think it was in the back section here, if I may, is somehow it says you need to identify intruders, what Tony was doing. He's identifying any intruders or people or things that are on his network that are consuming a lot or shouldn't be there, and he kicks them out. How to kick them out? You have to read your manual on how to do that at your router level, but
Yeah.
you can block an individual item or you can shut them down at a specific time. Then the other thing that you can do is you want to make sure that you have a strong password, and you have WAPA2 or WEP as your, I'm sorry, they're saying those are easy to crack.
No, they got a comma there. WAPA 2 is,
Preferably,
WAPA2 is
Web is
your
easy.
encryption. So you want to turn on your encryption, preferably using WPA2, not necessarily WEP. Tim?
Also, there is now on newer devices, WPA3 for even higher security.
Now that you have to have an attached device that can communicate at those WPA3s.
Correct.
Okay. So we're talking about these things, and we're going to have to circle around to another subject if I remember it. So remind me, Sanford, you were going to talk about Wi-Fi 6. If I forget
Yep.
about it.
If you hadn't, I would have.
And then there's also, you have QoS service. I don't really know much about how that works. Someone want to talk about QoS? It's a prioritization protocol.
yeah, what that does is, let's say you've got somebody that hogs up your home network because of gaming.
Yes.
You could then on the router say they're only allowed this amount of bandwidth. You can throttle them right then and there,
Okay.
so that the rest of the network has some bandwidth.
Got it.
Not
Got it.
shutting them off totally. It's just saying, okay, this path, this port can only have this much bandwidth at any one time.
Got it. All right, so that's something else you can do to help speed up the rest of your network, is to control that. You always have the option of buying a new, they talk about a new antenna, buy a new router. Let's see. Oh, look at,
Oh,
look at this one. Remember I was saying, who's it that, Tony, weren't you talking about one that's just round and that's it?
yes, sir.
But then I've said there's some that come with dozens of antennas. This is one of them.
Is this some
TP
SpaceX?
link. Now, what is it?
SpaceX.
Is it 2, 4, 6, 8?
That's actually tri-band, 3 bands, and it uses 8 antennas. And you have to have a device that can do what's called MIMO, multi-input, multi-output.
Okay. I don't know much about that, but we'll just take Bob's.
It's multi-channel communication. You're going to the router on one channel, coming from the router on a different channel.
Right.
that basically gives you twice the bandwidth.
Got
At
it.
least, and if it's tri-band, it could be as much as 3 times.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they divvy it up with tri-band.
All right, so here they're talking about what your hardware should be capable of doing.
And they do mention Wi-Fi 6.
Yes, well, let's go back. They do mention here 802.11
And
N, and they say, God forbid, G.
G.
If you have anything that's still on G, you should be trying to get that off.
Yep.
So N is going to communicate what at 54 megabits.
No, N caps out at 300 megabits.
G is 54, N is 300, AC is a gigabit. And then it's here now, the Wi-Fi 6 routers theoretically can do 10 gigabits. Theoretically.
The problem is nobody has internet service that's that fast.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why they don't know.
Yeah. 1 gigabit, you can get that. You can even get 2 gigabit service in your house. 10 gigabits would be more of a business environment.
Also, the coming 5G fixed wireless theoretically is going to be in the range of 6 gigabits per second.
Okay. All right.
At least the urban variety. There's a rural variety that's different.
I think that's kind of, oh, and then we talked about extenders.
Mesh
extenders. Mesh extenders, basically they leapfrog the data from one device to another. And if you put it an access point, let's say out in your garage, and you have one somewhere on your back porch, the garage one is going to talk to the back porch, which is going to talk to your router or wherever in between. And so the data is going to go boom, 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 boom to get to your router. It may slow it down a bit, but it's going to go really fast. Excuse me, really fast. I'm going to mute Pete for a moment there.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's see. Pete is back, so I can tell him, Pete, you can unmute yourself. I muted you while you're talking. There you go. All right. Bob, would you like to talk about Wi-Fi 6?
Well, what I do know about it is that Wi-Fi 6 sort of goes hand in glove with 5G, fixed wireless internet. And so coming into your home, you're going to have this much faster, much higher frequency, perhaps broader bandwidth internet service. And its companion is a Wi-Fi standard, which does use multiple channels like MIMO does. And it will require new equipment. You'll have to have on the device the ability to use this Wi-Fi standard. Why is it called Wi-Fi 6? All the standards up until now have been as high as Wi-Fi 5, which is not to be confused with 5G. Wi-Fi 5 is the AX, and I think it also includes N, but nothing any lower because that would have been probably Wi-Fi 2, 3, and 4. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on the exact lines of demarcation. But anyway, there have been several generations, and this is the latest generation. And it just happens to be 6th generation, just the way Intel has the 11th generation processors. And each time you go through a generation, you supposedly have a leap of capabilities. Wi-Fi 6 also penetrates materials better, at least in some frequency ranges. And the 5G wireless, it should be like your cell phones, except 4G cell phones, the LTE and all those, they don't penetrate houses and buildings, so you can't use them indoors. 5G you can use indoors. And this Wi-Fi 6 can penetrate, so you should have a seamless experience between indoors and outdoors when you take your device from one place to another. And they are similar speeds. And they're all very fast.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
And the other thing that's connected up with this is a television standard called ATSC3. They're skipping ATSC2, and it's going up to ATSC3. And that's going to be capable of being streamed or broadcast. So you're going to have television involved in this too.
Okay, from what I understood, another take on this. Wait, let me see if I could share the screen. Did it change? No.
And again, yeah, we've got your screen on
Okay,
Wi-Fi
you do
6.
have it. Okay, thank you. All right, so it says, according to this article, Wi-Fi 6 is going to focus mainly on the 5 gigahertz band. And as I understand it, the other thing that it does is it does a better job at time slicing and handling devices that are connected but not doing anything.
Yeah.
So it's going to reduce how much time it's listening to those. It's going to like low power to them. And those devices have to be Wi-Fi 6 enabled too. So
Yeah.
they're going to have a low power and a high power. That
Right.
is to say something like your stove, your refrigerator, your microwave, your Instapot. Those are going to be Wi-Fi 6 enabled devices. Don't ask me why you want your Instapot to have Wi-Fi 6, but that's okay. Those devices don't need to have a lot of bandwidth, but they do need to communicate periodically. And the Wi-Fi 6 is going to handle the communication between those lower powered devices or lower instance devices. So they're not slowing down the rest of your network as it's listening and talking to them. That's one of the things I learned about 6. I don't know if that's, I believe that's one of the design considerations for it.
Yeah, basically they're operating in the background and they're not interfering with your bandwidth.
Right, right. It's basically handling these new smart home devices so it doesn't impact your latency, the slowdown. That is, while your system is listening, it's got to listen to any one of those devices. And then all of a sudden the Instapot says, hello, I'm here, talk to me. So at that moment, the router is going to focus more on it. But when it's not doing anything, it's not going to spend too much time listening to it.
Yeah. You don't have this constant pinging or heartbeat.
Right. All right. So Tony, I know you've got an Instapot there with Wi-Fi 6 and your refrigerator, your smart refrigerator, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you got a Wi-Fi 6 enabled device like those, then you should be considering a new router that's Wi-Fi 6 enabled. Anything you buy today, I would tell you to consider buying a Wi-Fi 6 enabled device. And most of them are going to come that way. My new laptop here has Wi-Fi 6 on it. I have nothing in my house that's Wi-Fi 6 except for my new laptop. So.
How do you know your laptop has Wi-Fi 6?
What? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
How do you know your laptop is
Wi-Fi? Oh, because
Wi-Fi
it said it on the box when I went to buy it.
Oh, you read the box when you bought that thing?
Oh yeah, I read all the specs on it. Sure.
I am a dummy. I just threw my box under the bed.
Well, that's because it's an Apple device. You don't need to read on anything about it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So
yeah, Tony, you don't need to worry about it. And I don't believe Apple is incorporating Wi-Fi 6 at this time.
No.
But I could be wrong on that. I don't believe I've heard any discussion about Apple and Wi-Fi 6.
Neither have I.
No, they're not yet there.
Yeah.
By the way, the article does touch on how that background processing happens, how Wi-Fi 6 decides which devices get the bandwidth focus. It's a protocol called OFDMA, which is actually a modulation technique. And that's how they're doing it.
I stand corrected. According to 9to5Mac, all current new iPhones from 11 and up have Wi-Fi 6 enabled on it.
Shut the front door. See, I mean, I'm cooking here and I didn't know.
Okay, so let's see.
Well, learn something
the
new.
iPad Air, the
I've got
iPad Pro.
I've got an
iPad
iPhone.
since 11, not under 13.
And Tony, your brand new MacBook that you bought has built in too.
So, it will be.
You see, Apple's on the cutting edge. You don't tell you everything they do, what they have in there. But like that M1 chip.
Yeah, you know what? I stand corrected. I apologize.
No charge, sir. No charge.
So
Nice.
I'll have to look up the specs on my Panther Canyon Nook. Maybe it can do it.
It probably has it built in too. And you didn't know that.
Yeah, they're not broadcasting in it.
Where are the Wi-Fi 6 signals?
Up
What
here,
are the
Right.
signals?
it's all in your
Yeah,
head.
where are they? Where currently are there? Any
Anytime you have a router that generates those signals, you've got it.
Right.
It's not like 5G where they have to build it out.
Right. It's built into your router if you have a new router.
router? Okay.
Okay, a new router, Wi-Fi wireless router, your router itself, that would have to be built into it. So I personally don't own a Wi-Fi 6 enabled device. It'll probably have more antennas on it.
I've
Yeah,
got an iPhone 11.
So your 11 will be in your phone, but doesn't mean your house can handle it.
Okay.
Yeah, you still need you need a router that has it. And
Right.
there's
Yeah.
only
Okay,
like
how-
about a dozen routers on the market right now that do it.
Okay.
How about forward and backward compatibility?
Yes.
Right.
Wi-Fi 6 can do Wi-Fi 6 routers can do Wi-Fi 5.
Okay.
And they can do A, B, G, and N.
But that will slow them down.
Right.
Yeah.
I think A, B, G, and N will be there for quite some time. I don't know if they'll get rid of those, for saving for what it's probably built into the chip. The
It
protocol.
is.
Yeah, it's the chipset.
So the router can do it. So that means you don't have to upgrade all your hardware and your boxes.
They'll tell you do, but you don't.
Wait, Pete, I don't understand your question. What?
So if you were to, let's say my router crapped up here.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
needed to buy a new, let's say I had a line surge and it blew out my router.
How convenient could that be?
Yeah, to have a Hawaiian Electric replace it. Okay, so, and I needed to replace it and I replaced it with a new
Wi-Fi 6 enabled device?
Wi-Fi 6 enabled router.
Yes.
And so this router's got 4 Ethernet ports coming out the back. And 2 of them are used for my big machine,
Okay.
which is straight Ethernet for the controller box and for the machine controller.
Remember what I was said earlier, the jacks that come out of there are handled by the switch.
Right.
Okay.
Aware.
The router itself is handling the translation. The Wi-Fi part of the router is what we're talking about, Wi-Fi 6,
Aware of that.
the wireless part.
In other words, the wired parts do not change.
Correct.
Iron parts don't change. Okay. And my desktop here is wireless. I should not have to change the card and the thing to attach to the Wi-Fi 6 router.
You won't have to unless you want to get any of the advantages of Wi-Fi 6. Then you would buy a new Wi-Fi 6 enabled Wi-Fi card that would go in the PC.
And I wouldn't have to change my brother printer, which is wireless here. either.
That one you won't be able to do anything to. The printer is going to be whatever it is that it came with. And the next printer you buy might have Wi-Fi 6. I say that might because Tony, I see your hand up, Tony. I don't know. I personally don't know if printer manufacturers are going to be up to speed on Wi-Fi 6 or not. That one I don't know. It's a question mark, but you won't have to change it.
Because it's backward compatible. The router is backward compatible to the other
Correct.
protocols.
Correct. And my suggestion is, for one thing, if you have your CNC machine there that's using 2 RJ45s going to it, why don't you buy yourself a switch?
It's
And
already
others-
going through a switch.
You're already going to a switch. Okay. And then the switch is sending the 2 cables to that.
Actually, I have a hardwired router coming into the building at the Spectrum card. which separates the two halves of the building here. And one of them comes over and goes into the switch over
There,
there, which is my switch for the machine in the local area. And that switch then feeds this wireless
okay, all
router.
right. Yep.
Which is acting as an access port more than a router, because DHCP is being held by the router in the middle at the wire.
Right. Well, you got it under control. And you really are not, I don't think you would get any advantage with what your current configuration is to go into Wi-Fi 6 at this time. It's more of, like I discussed, some things, devices that are just sitting around and not using a lot, but occasionally they do. And those all have to be Wi-Fi 6 enabled devices in order to utilize Wi-Fi 6 on your router. Let's go to Tony's question.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Hallelujah. While you all were talking and discussing, I was doing my homework. Comcast announced a new version of its X5 advanced gateway on its modem router combo product at CES early today. So that was back in January. They said this new version supports Wi-Fi 6, which is optimized for faster speeds and better handle ever-growing number of network devices we have in our homes. So with 21, I'm cooking. I'm going back to Comcast in the morning, Xfinity, and I taking my thing up there. I want the Wi-Fi 6 router.
Okay.
No
I
charge.
think you should tell them that and get your new one and see if they'll do it.
Oh,
Well,
they
he's
do it.
due for a
New
new
one,
contract, right?
A
You're
new
due for a new
contract. You remember what I told you guys just now?
Yep.
You got to negotiate. You know, not a wiggly way. Negotiate is called negotiation. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
What version of your phone, Tony?
The phone is iPhone 13. Yeah, this has Wi-Fi 6 enabled.
Which version is it?
He's bought the brand new one.
The latest
Oh,
one.
is it a 13?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's got it then.
Came out last week.
Yeah.
I'm
'Cause
rocking now.
I've got an 11. They just said that that 11 has.
You young.
However, I will say, don't get, for Tony's case, great, embrace it. But for the rest of us, just
Yeah.
know that it's there. And eventually we'll all get there towards it. We don't have to run. Are you going to see huge performance increases over your
No.
current system?
No.
You will if you're coming from a B or a G or maybe an N network,
Mhm.
a Wi-Fi network, move up to whatever's the latest and greatest. Then you'll see huge performance increases. But it also depends on your devices in your house. They have to be able to accommodate that. If you have an old tablet or PC that's still running B, G, or N, and you buy a new router, it's not going to make a hill of beans. You have to upgrade that device. So we need to wrap this up because we're coming to the end. I know this has been wonderful. Is there any, I think we've kind of covered this topic very well. This is the second time in this last month and this month, we spent a lot of time talking about routers and wireless routers and stuff. We did last month and we did a really in-depth crawl in and I showed everyone how my router worked. The fact that I had a VPN built into mine and how I used that. Anyone got any last questions?
Last questions or last words?
Or last words?
No last words. I don't have any. I'm not ready to go as yet. I'm still here.
Tony, I want to know, what did you do with your old iPhone?
The old iPhone? Oh, I traded that one.
Oh, you traded it in.
I
Okay.
traded it in. They give me what was it? Give me $400 or something so for it.
Okay. And what was that, a 12?
No, it was a 10, I think it was.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. That's 3 years old now. And that's more than that, yeah. It's about 4 years. I think it's almost 4 years now.
Okay.
I get a good deal for it.
That's good.
So that was good. I was going to give it to my granddaughter, but she has too much of stuff. Her mother's not happy about it. So Yeah. You want me to sell in the black market? Is that what you're telling me?
No, no, I was just asking, that's all.
That's all right. No, no problem. That's
I say one of the good things about old cell phones and old tablets is, well, cell phones is you can use them as a Wi-Fi only device.
Oh.
Or it could be one you could throw in a glove box of a car. And if you had an emergency, you can dial 911 from the phone regardless of whether or not you have a data plan on it or not.
But
All
you've got
cell
to keep it
phones-
charged. You can't have it and forget it.
Right. All cell phones can dial 911, period.
Oh, that's interesting.
Pete?
Question, what if the cell towers don't support the protocol anymore?
Oh, well, then you're screwed. Okay. And throw it away, throw it in the recycle bin. Yeah. If it's that old of a flip
No,
phone,
this one's not that old. It's
Or
3
if
years old. They're changing from the
the
LT to 5G here.
right.
And when
Old
they change
Sprint
cell
one.
towers here, they get rid of it's Sprint and what do you call it? T-Mobile now.
Yeah, but they've only been getting rid of the 3G,
Yeah.
not the 4 or
Right.
the 5.
Right.
Oh, here they're getting rid of everything. They're saying my phone will not work on the network.
that is
Wow.
correct, I think, but if you used it for dialing 911, it still has to work. But I could be wrong about that. I don't know.
The 5G towers are supposed to still support 4G LTE.
Yeah.
Right. I think it is because it's a federal mandate that they have to support whatever the technology is, and it's decommissioned, they still have to support it for 911, only for 911. That's it.
Well, the 4G would be supported for almost everything. The 3G would be a 911 only.
Mhm.
They're
And I do have
not,
a quick- I
when
have a
they pull the
question.
towers here, they pull the towers.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is a 5G tower does not preclude using 4G LTE. It's the carrier that would preclude that.
Right, they'll block you from doing it, but
And
not
Sprint
for
and
911.
T-Mobile's doing it.
Oh, T-Mobile has Modem to do it. They've got skin in the game.
Any other last questions? No, I do have a question. Does
Sure.
my picture look grainy?
Grainy, is that the picture of your
It does
face?
look grainy and not sharp.
Yes.
That's great.
But
And
it,
I
Yeah.
don't know why that is. I mean,
everybody,
I think your the image of yourself against that background is what's
Background, yeah.
turning it grainy.
Yeah.
okay. And I wonder if I turn off my virtual background, if it will make it better
More lively, yes.
or less noticeable. I did notice that none.
No, I
No.
also, if you're using the feature to enhance or the low light feature in your settings for video,
Look under
that might also make it grainy.
original. No. And I have ratio being original and HD.
is your camera the new camera on the laptop?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a piece of plastic over the lens?
Stop it. Stop it. Don't do that.
No, there's no piece of plastic over the lens, and it sure does look like there's a piece of plastic over the lens.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe there's something in here. Let me.
plastic film.
Much better, much better. No, I can
No, yeah, when I block, no, I
I
think it's still just as grainy, and I don't know why that is.
What did you have for lunch?
I don't know. I haven't looked to see what this comes with built in. Let's see, video processing and hardware acceleration, optimize build. Let's see if that does anything. Optimize video quality for denoise.
You begin to look a little better, a little younger.
Oh yeah, you're full of shit too.
I'm telling it like it.
Now, let's clean up the act.
Okay.
The truth will set you free.
Well, that might have made a change. I'm gonna have to play with this and see what the heck's going on here, because I agreed when I first logged in, I go, why is my video so crappy? And And on this new laptop, it should not be like that. So
How is mine to make sure I got a reference?
Yours?
yours
Yeah.
looks better than me.
Very sharp.
Very
And
sharp.
Bob's looks good.
Yeah.
You look younger than springtime, sir.
I didn't have to adjust anything in my system to get it to look okay, except for low light.
Low life?
Low light.
Oh, right.
Like,
Low light as in Bud Light,
You guys are terrible.
not low life as in high life.
So I was trying to, I didn't have a problem hearing it. No.
okay, with that, I will say good night to everybody.
Okay.
Any of the board members would like to stick around afterwards, we can have a quick communication if we need to. Otherwise, I'll speak to everybody hopefully next month. There should be no interference with my schedule.
Outstanding.
Mhm.
Ooh,
And
we'll-
then those who are
Wow.
coming, to Thursday's West Side meeting, I'll have something prepared.
We'll see you all there.
thanks
Yep.
for having us.
I will
I'm
say
going to get-
aloha.
I'm going to get 2 scoops of ice cream in the house now.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay. Take
I
care.
I expect you to share some of that